state parks to be closed: Sebastian Inlet State Park, Okeechobee Battlefield State Park, Avalon State Park, Fort Pierce Inlet State Park, Savannah State Park, St. Lucie Inlet State Park, Jack Island State Park, Anastasia State Park, Blue Springs State Park, North Peninsula State Park. I've been in contact with sheriffs, mayors, utility companies, the Red Cross, Florida retailers, and emergency management officials across our state. Here's what we know now. Hurricane Matthew made landfall in Cuba last night and is headed north toward the Bahamas. It has maximum sustained winds of 120 miles per hour. It's a slow-moving storm and continues to move northwest. Slow-moving storms mean we get more rain. It is expected to strengthen as it approaches Florida. Now, we should not focus on the exact track. The eye of the storm continues to move closer to our state. What we've seen over time is this is moving closer to our state, not further away. There are now some forecasts that put a direct hit on Florida. Based on the current forecast, the center of the storm will be close to Cape Canaveral on Friday morning. Regardless if there's a direct hit or not, the impacts will be devastating. I cannot emphasize it enough that everyone in our state must prepare now for a direct hit. Just remember, with the storm going up our coast, a small deviation from the track could mean a catastrophic change along Florida's east coast. We have to prepare for a direct hit. We will likely start to see impacts on our state within the next 24 hours and last entirely through this weekend. This is a slow-moving storm. People will have less than 24 hours left to prepare, evacuate, and shelter. Having a plan in place could mean the difference between life and death. Right now, we expect to see impacts all along Florida's east coast, ranging from the Upper Keys to Nassau County. We're still very focused on the I-95 corridor of the state. The impacts of Hurricane Matthew are as follows. Heavy rain. Forecasts project 4 to 7 inches from the Upper Keys northward to the coastal east central Florida. It could be up to 10 inches, and if you look at historically our storms, we get bands where it's more than that. Storm surge. Heights are expected to be above ground. Forecast projected to be 3 to 6 feet from North Palm Beach to the Flagler of Volusia County line. The surge can be deadly. Please do not risk going out on the beach and trying to surf. This can kill you. Don't go surfing. Rip currents, beach erosion. We have a significant chance of tornadoes and hurricane-force winds. Even if the storm remains offshore, tropical storm-force winds will extend into our state. As of now, wind strength is our biggest concern regardless if the storm directly hits us. The probability of high wind speeds has continued to increase as this storm has developed. It's not going down. It's expected to go up. The probability for hurricane strength winds continues to increase. But again, all of this can change quickly and can change for the worse. These are all projections, and we have to prepare to be hit by a devastating hurricane. Hurricane warnings are in effect from north of Golden Beach in Miami-Dade County to Sebastian Inlet in Brevard County and Lake Okeechobee. There's currently a hurricane watch in effect for Sebastian Inlet to Fernandina Beach in Nassau County. There's a tropical storm warning in effect for Chicxulub in Collier County to Golden Beach, Florida Keys from 7 Mile Bridge eastward, and Florida Bay. This is a dangerous storm, and it is never too early to evacuate. It's never too early to evacuate. If you live in a low-lying area, a barrier island, or if you're in an area that you know are prone to flooding, don't wait to leave. Leave now. If you wait to leave, you might be tied up in traffic for hours and hours and hours. Current evacuations include Palm Beach County. Voluntary evacuations have begun, and I just spoke to them, and they strongly recommend the evacuations in the areas that they've talked about. Broward County. Voluntary evacuations for mobile homes and low-lying areas have begun. St. Johns County. Mandatory evacuations begin at 6 a.m. tomorrow for barrier islands and low-lying areas. Duval County. Voluntary evacuations have started for Jacksonville Beach, Atlantic Beach, and Neptune Beach. Brevard County. Mandatory evacuation for barrier islands at 3 p.m. today. St. Lucie County. Voluntary evacuations have already started. Flagler County. Voluntary evacuations have already started. Indian River. Voluntary evacuations have started for barrier islands. Mandatory evacuations begin tomorrow at 8 a.m. for barrier islands, mobile and manufactured homes, and low-lying areas. Martin County. Mandatory evacuations are in effect for Sewell's Point, Hutchinson Island, Jupiter Island, and mobile homes. Nassau County. It's a very low-lying county. Mandatory evacuations begin at 6 a.m. tomorrow for beaches and coastal areas. Volusia County. Voluntary evacuations of barrier islands today. Mandatory evacuations begin tomorrow morning. I've spoken to all 67 Florida counties and have stressed to them the importance of getting their evacuation plans ready now. The state stands ready with resources to help counties with safe sheltering and evacuation if any local community is needed. I expect to hear more this afternoon from counties with regard to their evacuation plans. Again, this afternoon I will continue to hear from coastal communities with regard to their evacuation plans. Our number one priority is protecting life. This storm has already killed multiple people, and we should expect the same impact on Florida if people do not take this seriously. If an evacuation order is issued for your area, do not wait. Leave immediately. We just had a Category 1 storm in the Panhandle. I went to Panacea, I think it was a day after, spoke to a lady. There was a mandatory evacuation. She didn't listen. She stayed home because of her pets. She waited until the water was up to 1.5 feet. She left her home. The water was flowing in. These storm surges flow in and out very quickly. If there hadn't been a high water vehicle 2 doors down, she would have died. It got to almost 4 feet in her house. So if there's a mandatory evacuation, listen to the evacuation. If you have any thoughts of whether you should do this, evacuate. Once the storm comes, we cannot put our first responders at risk to save your life. If you make a decision not to leave, we cannot put somebody else in harm's way to save your life. You must leave before it's too late. Think about it. We can rebuild your home. We can rebuild your business. We cannot rebuild your life. Follow the directions of your local officials. They know your county. They know your area. They're going to make decisions for everybody's safety. This is serious, and your safety depends on you being prepared and staying alert to all warnings and orders. Many coastal counties are preparing to open shelters today and tomorrow morning. There are shelters for people with special needs. There are shelters for pets. There are shelters for the general population. There's a shelter for everyone. I encourage everyone to download the free American Red Cross emergency app. It shows any open Red Cross shelters in real time. The Red Cross has 97 shelters scheduled to be open throughout Florida over the next 2 days. There's absolutely no excuse not to evacuate. If you are on Florida's East Coast, you should know now where you're going to go if you think there's any chance you'll have to evacuate. If you're able to leave early, go now. Before there's traffic. There will be traffic. Do not take any risk. I urge you to visit floridadisaster.org. You can find your closest shelter as well as information on road closures. It is very important that you know where your shelter is if you might have to evacuate. Just think about it. When you lose power, you're not going to be able to find out where the shelter is. Now is the time to know your evacuation zone. If you lose power, you will not know where you're supposed to evacuate. Please check the website with your local officials or your local news. This, again, can save your life. Lake Okeechobee. I've been in constant communication with the Corps of Engineers. I've spoken to Colonel Jason Kirk in the state, and then General Turner in Atlanta that's responsible for the lake. And what they've said is they're taking all the precautions, but this time they believe lake levels are low enough, based on anticipated rain, they're going to be fine. But they've already reached out to our National Guard. In case we get more rain than what's anticipated, we'll have to work on making sure we might have to do an evacuation. We'll see what happens. Our water management districts are inspecting key areas of their flood control systems, including canals and levees. There is no issues reported this time. We have significant school closures. Brevard, closed Thursday and Friday. Broward, closed Thursday and Friday. Eastern Florida State College will be closed until Monday. Martin County, early dismissal today. Schools closed Thursday and Friday. Indian River County, early dismissal today. Schools closed Thursday and Friday. Okeechobee, schools closed Thursday and Friday. Palm Beach, closed Thursday and Friday. St. Lucie, there will be early dismissal today. Schools closed Thursday and Friday. Florida School for the Deaf and Blind, closed today, Thursday and Friday. Each county school board is responsible for closing schools. I know they will continue to make decisions this afternoon. FAU, classes will be canceled beginning today at 5 p.m. and will remain canceled Thursday and Friday. UNF, classes will be canceled at 3 p.m. and will remain canceled Thursday and Friday. UCF, classes will be canceled today at 5 and remain closed until Saturday. Embry-Riddle, closed Thursday through Saturday. Nova, closed Thursday and Friday. With a storm of this magnitude, we are very concerned about prolonged power outages. Just think about this. In Hurricane Irma, it was a Category 1, and if you were in Leon County, you were out of power for days. We know that when there is no power, lives are at risk. I've stayed in constant contact with the utilities across the state, and we had a conference call yesterday, and I asked them, are you pre-positioned assets? Do you need anything? Do you have agreements with people to bring in more help? So we're getting information from all of our utilities. I talked to Florida Power and Light just a few hours ago, and they said they're bringing in 7,000 people. So I know our utilities are bringing in, and we're going to do everything we can to get them to share resources to get everybody their power back as quickly as possible. After the storm hits, our utilities will start reporting outage and restore information to the state. Our Florida Department of Transportation is doing the following. They've halted all their road projects on interstates and evacuation routes. They're removing materials that block roads to facilitate possible evacuations. They're very focused on making sure roads are clear. They're ensuring there is fuel and road rangers on Florida's turnpikes, and they're preparing possible evacuation routes. For information on road and bridge closures, please check fl511.com. Highway Patrol has made contact with local troops in preparation for supporting evacuations in the major corridors, south to north, east to west. Their top priority is helping people move to safety. Florida Department of Law Enforcement and Florida Fish and Wildlife preparing to deploy troops to help with safe evacuations and response and recovery. Fish and wildlife teams and equipment are in place to help with search and rescue efforts around the state. We've been in contact with fuel industry partners, and at this time there are no reported supply, distribution, and retail fuel shortages. We have heard some individual stations short, but in no area of the state are we short of fuel. We've pre-positioned fuel, and we're talking to the fuel suppliers, making sure we have fuel. Port Miami Tunnel is closing. All ports remain open at this time, all ports and airports. And we're starting to see hospital closings. The following hospitals are being evacuated: Cape Canaveral Hospital, Baptist Medical Center in Jacksonville Beach, Florida Hospital in Ormond Beach, Florida Hospital in New Smyrna. We have 3 veterans nursing homes on the East Coast. All have generators and are preparing staff and supplies to care for their residents. Tourists. Visit Florida is working with local tourism officials to ensure visitors are kept informed and provide options in case of evacuations. If you're a visitor in our state or in an area along Florida's East Coast, please evacuate before the roads get clogged. Now's the time to check on your neighbors. Check on the elderly, check on the disabled, check on those with special needs, check with your family, check with your friends. Make sure everybody you know and in your neighborhood, they're ready. If you think anybody might need something, check on them. Don't take a chance. We all have to work together to make sure we make it through this potentially catastrophic storm. And I saw after Hurricane Irma, the number of people that just took care of each other up in Tallahassee was amazing. Make sure you have at least these things. Everybody needs to have these things. We are in hurricane season. We have a catastrophic storm that might have a direct impact on our state. 3 days of water, 3 days of food. Have any medicine you might need. Have a battery-powered radio. Have batteries. Charge up your cell phone. Your cell phone might be the only way you can communicate with anybody, and it might be the only way you can get information. Make sure your cell phone's charged up all the time. We're preparing for the worst, hoping for the best, but we're not going to take a chance. We know how to prepare, but everybody has to take this seriously. Do not take any chances and do not wait. Be ready now. Know your evacuation zone. Again, if you think you're going to need to evacuate, why would you wait? Don't wait. Go evacuate now. Beat the traffic. We don't know. When you look at evacuations in the past, when there's an accident, it just slows everything down. We are focused on protecting every life. We're going to continue to provide updates on this life-threatening storm as it develops. If you live in an area that will not be impacted by the storm and want to volunteer to assist communities, and I've started to get a lot of calls from the West Coast, you can visit redcross.org. The next briefing with the National Hurricane Center is going to be at 5:15. I'm going to be in Duval County later today to also meet with emergency management officials there. I just spoke with the Attorney General. I've been asked about price gouging. She's already gotten, I think, 500 calls about price gouging. It's disgusting that anybody would try to take advantage of anybody at this time. But the telephone number to call her office is 1-866-9-NO-SCAM, N-O-S-C-A-M, or go to myfloridalegal.com. If you know of any price gouging, make sure you contact the Attorney General's office. Cada familia y turista tiene que tener un plan en caso de que el huracán Matthew impacte a la Florida. Mi prioridad es que todos estén seguros y preparados. He estado en constante comunicación con el Departamento de Emergencia del Estado. Todos estamos preparados para sabemos que el huracán impacte a la Florida, que es una tormenta muy fuerte y le pido a todos que por favor se mantengan informados y preparados. Tienen que tener 3 días de agua, alimentos y las medicinas que necesiten. Tenemos que seguir monitoreando este huracán. Yo declaré un estado de emergencia esta semana y espero que todos en nuestro estado tengan un plan. Como gobernador, mi prioridad es que todos están en Florida, están preparados y seguros. I'm glad to take any questions anybody has.
Governor, it's been a long time since Florida has gotten a storm of this magnitude. How concerned are you people aren't going to be taking this?
I'm very concerned. I mean, if you just think about it, we haven't had a storm like this in a long time, and think about how many people have been moving to this state. So I'm very concerned. I think we all have to talk to everybody we know and say, why would you take a chance? You know, first off, if you don't have to evacuate, you need to get ready. You don't know, one, the odds are you're going to be out of power, right? We're going to lose power. We haven't had a storm in a long time, so we're going to have a messy storm. So we're going to have a lot of trees down there. It's going to damage lines. So have the water, have the food, have your medicine, have a radio, charge up your cell phone. You're going to lose power. That's what's going to happen. If you think you're going to have to evacuate, do it right now. We've got shelters. We can evacuate everybody. We have shelters for everybody we need to evacuate. So go evacuate now. I mean, just why take a chance? I mean, I love my kids. I love my grandkids. I don't want anything to happen to them. I'm sure everybody's in the same position I'm in. Be careful. Don't take a chance. You can all get on the Weather Channel and look at the stories of people, just like the lady that in Panacea that almost died because she didn't want to leave her 4 pets. We have shelters for pets. So we have shelters for special needs. We have shelters for everybody. So don't take a chance. Yes.
How much have you been in contact with the federal government? Have you spoken to the president?
The president hasn't reached out. FEMA has individuals in our emergency management office in Tallahassee, so we work with FEMA. They've been there since 2 days probably, at least. And I spoke to FEMA this morning, but I've not heard from the White House.
Governor, what do you say to people who think that there's a lot of hype right now and that it's still too early to say what's going to happen with the storm and they're holding out to the last minute?
It's foolish. I mean, here's the way to think about it. So the storm path is going to come, right now it says it's going to come right along our coast. If they're wrong, and it's just a couple degrees, and think about it, it's a projection. So you look at the last one we had up in the Panhandle. It never was supposed to be a Category 1, and it ended up being a Category 1 at the last minute. Also, it moved, and so we had storm surge in some areas where we didn't think we were going to have it. So you have to stop and think about it. This thing is getting close to our coast. You better be ready before, because if it turns at the last minute, you're not going to have time to get ready. You're not going to be able to go get your food and water. You're not going to be able to evacuate. You're going to put your life and your family's life at risk. I mean, it's not fair to you, and it's not fair to your family. And think about it. After the fact, somebody is going to go out there and try to save you. They can't do it during the storm. They're going to be possibly putting their life at risk to save you. That's not the right thing to be doing. You should be. I mean, you think about this. We all have one life. We can rebuild homes and businesses. You can't rebuild somebody's family.